If you're still using AI like a search engine, you're leaving massive value on the table. Most people type a vague question and hope for a good answer. But that's not how professionals use Claude. I recently went through a paid training session. It completely changed how I think about AI. They walked through how real teams use Claude across marketing, research, operations, and engineering. And I want to break down the most important lessons for you. Here's what we're covering: how to choose the right model, how to prompt like a professional, real-world applications across industries, Claude's agentic features, the ones that actually do the work for you, and what enterprise teams need to know about security. Let's get into it. Here's something most people don't realize. Claude isn't just one model, it's a family of models. And picking the right one for the right task makes a huge difference. There are 3 tiers. Haiku is the fastest and cheapest. It's your go-to for quick stuff: formatting, simple Q&A, anything where speed matters more than depth. Sonnet is the daily workhorse. It handles coding, writing, and analysis, with a strong balance of speed and intelligence. And then there's Opus, the most powerful. You pull this out when you need deep strategic analysis, complex reasoning, or multi-layered research. But here's the key principle. Don't use Opus for everything. Match the model to the task. Speed tasks go to Haiku. Daily work goes to Sonnet. Deep strategy goes to Opus. Now here's where things get interesting. Claude has a massive context window. Instead of feeding it information piece by piece, you can upload all your project background, documents, and reference materials at once. Claude holds all of that and references it throughout your conversation. That's a fundamentally different workflow. And then there's Cowork. This is where AI goes beyond chatting. You describe what you want in plain English. Claude creates a plan, executes it inside a secure virtual machine on your computer, and delivers finished files. Excel spreadsheets with working formulas, PowerPoint decks, organized folder structures, directly back to your folder. The process is simple. You give Claude access to a folder. It reads your files and builds a plan. It runs that plan in a sandboxed VM, isolated from your operating system. And then it delivers the output. Claude isn't telling you what to do. It's doing the work for you. This was probably the most actionable part of the entire session. There are 8 principles that separate amateur prompts from professional-grade results. Let me walk through each one. First, set the context. Before your first request, paste a brief company overview or project background. Claude is powerful, but it's not psychic. Give it the landscape before asking it to navigate. Second, assign a role. Tell Claude who it should be. Act as a senior B2B copywriter. Act as a financial analyst. This frames every response through the lens of that expertise. Third, define the output explicitly. Don't say, write a blog post. Say, write a 500-word blog post with 3 subheadings, a conversational tone, and a call to action at the end. Specificity produces usable results. Fourth, show, don't describe. This is called few-shot prompting. Instead of saying, write in a friendly tone, paste an example of writing in the voice you want. Claude learns patterns from examples way faster than from descriptions. Fifth, chain your prompts. Break complex tasks into a sequence. First, analyze these surveys. Then draft 3 personas. Then create email templates for each persona. Sequential prompting works way better than one massive request. Sixth, iterate with surgical feedback. Never say, make it better. Instead, make the opening paragraph more concise, or replace the 3rd bullet with a customer retention stat. The more specific your feedback, the more precise the revision. Seventh, use constraints, word limits, format restrictions, required keywords. These force Claude to prioritize and produce focused output. Something like, draft a 150-word elevator pitch using the words automation, compliance, and scalability. That gives you a much tighter result. And eighth, chain of thought prompting. You guide Claude to reason step by step before giving you an answer. The simplest version? Just add, "Let's think step by step," to your prompt. This dramatically improves accuracy for anything involving calculations or multi-step decisions. Now here's the big picture. When you apply all 8 of these together, you're not just using AI, you're programming it with natural language. And that's the difference between a generic response and ta ipserofes spirunbalbudil tivermopslit, actionable part of the entire session. There are 8 principles that separate amateur prompts from professional-grade results. Let me walk through each one. First, set the context. Before your first request, paste a brief company overview or project background. Claude is powerful, but it's not psychic. Give it the landscape before asking it to navigate. Second, assign a role. Tell Claude who it should be. Act as a senior B2B copywriter. Act as a financial analyst. This frames every response through the lens of that expertise. Third, define the output explicitly. Don't say, "Write a blog post." Say, "Write a 500-word blog post with 3 subheadings, a conversational tone, and a call to action at the end." Specificity produces usable results. Fourth, show, don't describe. Now let's talk about the features that make Claude a true workspace, not just a chatbot. Projects are self-contained workspaces. Each one has its own chat history, a knowledge base where you upload files, and custom instructions that control how Claude behaves. But here's the key word: persistent. You upload your brand guide, technical specs, and customer personas once. Claude references them automatically in every conversation. No more re-uploading the same files every session. You can also set custom instructions per project. One project for marketing might say, "Assume a non-technical audience, keep it casual." Another for engineering docs might say, "Use technical terminology, cite specific APIs." Each project stays in its lane. On paid plans, projects use something called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. When your knowledge base gets large, instead of cramming everything into the context window, Claude pulls only the most relevant snippets. This expands your capacity by 10 times and keeps responses fast. Then there are artifacts. These are standalone pieces of content that render in a dedicated panel next to your chat. You can highlight specific sections and ask Claude to update just that part. You can switch between versions without saving drafts. You can build mind maps, diagrams, and flowcharts, and download or share everything directly. And then there's the Claude.md file. This is a technique advanced teams use. It's essentially a project memory file. You store your brand guidelines, terminology, preferred conventions, and common workflows. Claude reads it automatically and applies those rules every session. Set it once, benefit indefinitely. You can even set up scheduled tasks, recurring automations, like daily executive briefs or weekly performance reports, that Claude runs on autopilot. Now let's get into how people are actually using this. In marketing and sales, one of the most powerful applications is AI-driven persona development. Here's the workflow. Upload customer interview transcripts to a project. Ask Claude to extract exact phrases, emotional language, and recurring patterns. Then, ask Claude to simulate those personas. Act as this persona and respond to this pitch. This helps you predict objections, based on real customer language, not assumptions. What used to take a marketing team days, Claude processes in minutes. For outreach, if you connect Claude to your CRM data, it can draft emails tailored to specific pain points. It crafts personalized openers based on trigger events, like a funding round or leadership change. High conversion outreach at scale, personalized in seconds. For research and strategy, there's the 3-tier summary technique. Ask Claude to generate 3 versions of a long report, a 3-sentence executive brief, a 1-page overview, and a detailed outline, all 3 in one prompt. Claude's long context window makes it especially powerful for legal analysis. You can upload a 200-page contract and ask for risk assessment or compliance gaps. It's straightforward. For operations, Claude is a process documentation machine. You can paste a messy description of a manual process, something like, "Here's how we onboard employees, it's kind of chaotic," and ask Claude to convert it into a numbered, step-by-step SOP with clear ownership. Decision trees, RACI matrices, multi-audience communications, all from one prompt. And for non-developers working alongside technical teams, Claude bridges the communication gap. It explains why a function might be failing, in plain language. It translates business requirements into pseudocode. It summarizes pull requests so stakeholders understand what changed and why, without reading code line by line. This is where Claude goes from impressive to transformational. Claude Code was designed for developers, but it's evolved into a general-purpose automation tool. Non-developers can use it to explain complex logic in plain language, review pull requests, and generate high-level system designs. It has direct access to your file system and can execute multi-step tasks on its own. But here's where things get really powerful. Cowork takes this further. When you give it a complex request, it breaks it into subtasks and coordinates them. Ask it to analyze customer feedback from these 12 CSV files, identify the top 5 pain points, and create a report. It shows you the plan, asks for your approval, then executes it. What makes this especially powerful is parallel execution. Cowork spins up multiple specialized subagents that work simultaneously. One explores and searches files. One plans and synthesizes findings. One drafts the final document. Each subagent gets its own 200,000 token context window, so there's no bottleneck. Think of it as an orchestration tree. A manager node receives your prompt and immediately spins up specialized workers. Worker A analyzes data. Worker B searches the web. Worker C drafts the document. All three execute at the same time, and their results converge into one polished output. This isn't AI doing tasks in sequence. It's a coordinated team of specialists working for you simultaneously. And then there are skills. Reusable instruction sets. Think of them as plugins that activate automatically when your request matches their description. Combined with scheduled tasks, you can build automated workflows that run on a recurring basis without any manual prompting. This is the shift. From reactive AI that responds to you, to proactive AI that executes plans for you. If you're evaluating Claude for your organization, this is the part that matters most. There's a critical legal distinction between consumer and commercial plans. On commercial plans, team and enterprise, Anthropic is contractually prohibited from using your data to train models. This isn't just a policy, it's legally binding. You retain full ownership of all inputs and outputs, with full IP rights. On free plans, you can opt out in settings, but the default is opted in. If you're handling sensitive data, the commercial plan's protections are essential. The encryption is enterprise grade, TLS 1.2 or higher in transit, AES 256 at rest. Claude holds SOC 2 Type 2 and ISO 27001 certifications. But here's what really sets it apart: the security architecture. 4 layers of defense in depth. Layer 1, platform security. Single sign-on, identity management, and audit logging. Layer 2, workspace security. Granular access controls, isolated project knowledge bases, and enforced policy guidelines. Layer 3, model safety. Constitutional AI principles and toxicity filters that automatically refuse harmful requests. And Layer 4, architectural security. Local-only folder access, strict VM sandboxing, and full audit trails. Each layer is a checkpoint. If one fails, the other 3 still protect you. That's genuine enterprise-grade security. So here's how to think about everything we've covered. It's what you might call the Claude OS Stack. 4 layers that build on each other. Layer 1 is the brain, choosing the right model for the right task. Layer 2 is the workspace. Persistent projects, artifacts, and RAG-powered knowledge bases. Layer 3 is the agent. Cowork, Claude code, and scheduled tasks. This is where AI moves from responding to executing. And Layer 4 is the world. Enterprise-grade security, zero data retention on commercial plans, and VM sandboxed execution. That's the full picture. Claude isn't just a chatbot. It's an operating system for intelligent work. So here are your 4 takeaways. 1. Choose your model strategically. Haiku for speed, Sonnet for daily work, Opus for depth. 2. Build persistent, context-rich workspaces using projects and Claude.md files. 3. Prompt with precision using the 8 principles we covered. And 4. Move from chatting to executing with Cowork, skills, and scheduled tasks. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe. I'm going to be creating more content on how to actually use AI tools at a professional level. Drop a comment if you have questions about any of the techniques we covered. Thanks for watching.